India had a population of 377 million people living in urban areas in 2011. By 2030, it will become nearly 600 million. And by 2050, we will have more than 50% of India's population living in cities. But 50% is just a percentage. If you look at the number, more than 800 million people will live in cities in India, which that is more than the combined population of the United States, Europe, and maybe several other countries. So this is the sort of picture. Any chance with technology? Okay. I hope I'll get some more time. It's the time limits. So let us move and see, I mean, what are the solutions? What can we do about it? I think that is the question everyone is asking. So cities are growing and people are coming into cities, whatever the problems, the people are continuously migrating. So how do we want to deal with this problem of urbanization? How do we manage urbanization? I think that is the big question. So recently, Government of India came out with this, what is called the Smart Cities Mission. Now, smart cities suddenly has caught the imagination of people. I think all of you also know about smart cities. It was mentioned about it's smart technology. Everything is, we are using the word smart. So, but what exactly is smart? Because normally we say you are looking very smart today, as if you are not smart yesterday. I mean, suddenly something changes and you become. So the question is that what was yesterday or even today is something dirty, ugly. Can it become smart? Can it become clean, beautiful? I mean, things like that. So, but when we talk about cities, how do we make them smart? So, smart city is described as, I mean, there is no one clear definition. The origin of this concept came from the West. But anyway, now we need to adopt it to the Indian situation. So, smart city is one which aims at economic growth, which means providing employment, prosperity, etc. on the one hand, and at the same time providing a better quality of life. I think this is the most important. The quality of life means good education, good health, pure air, clean environment. So the whole thing, that means smart city is a holistic concept. It is integrated. But at the moment, we find the cities are mostly managed in silos. It is dysfunctional in so many ways because it is disintegrated. The way a city, any city, whether it is Pune or Bangalore or Nagpur, we find a multiplicity of authorities in our cities. You find the municipal corporation is there for certain basic civic services. You have water supply board, electricity board, transport corporation, and so on and so forth. So these various organizations, multiple laws, but who is controlling? Who is trying to manage this, drive this whole thing? That is the main question. So when we analyze smart cities, you find, it has come now? Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was just mentioning about the various crisis problems. I mean, water is one of the things, water. See, we all talk about, the energy as one of the biggest problems. We forget that water is going to be one of the big challenges in the coming years. Water shortages are looming large over cities. So the per capita water supply is expected to be at least 135 liters per capita per day. But it ranges from 35, sometimes some of the poor people get even less than 35 liters. Cities consume a lot of energy that we know. Again gone. Now sanitation, I think this is one of the most shameful things that has happened in India. People still defecate in the open, even in cities. It's not merely in villages, because now we have the Swachh Bharat mission trying to construct any number of toilets. But you find 18% of the households have no access to toilets. See, 18% as a percentage may look low. 18% is nearly 40 million households. And I spoke about inequities, I mean, whether it is in incomes, in relation to education, health, so on and so forth. So crisis is one part, urban advantage is another part. As I said, the population, as I said, I mean, by 2030, 600 millions people, 70% of the GDP, net new employment. So this is the great challenge that we are facing today. How to transform conventional and chaotic cities to smart and sustainable cities. So towards smart cities. As I said, it aims at creating economic development and a high quality of life, both together. But ICT, or information communication technology, is the new enabler. That is the new thing that has come into the concept of cities today. Now, these are all the various elements of a smart city. In other words, we are trying to make everything smart. It may be smart mobility, smart environment, buildings, whether it is governance, economy, you are trying to use the word smart for everything. But what should be remembered is that it is a holistic concept. As I said, we need to integrate all these things together. So under the smart cities mission, 100 cities are now, it has come down to 98 specifically, have already been selected. Pune is one of them. And Pune has also been selected in the first 20, as you know, it's ranked second. So 20 selected, and government overall is providing nearly 1 lakh crores. That means each smart city will get 100 crores per year, or 500 crores in 5 years. Now, let me give you some examples of the smart cities. See, government has now categorized the smart cities into kind of 3-4 concepts. One, what is called a greenfield city. That is, you take one compact area in or even outside the city, which is completely greenfield, which is not built, etc., and try to build an entirely new smart city according to all the components that we looked at. Now, let me also tell you, there is no smart city in the world today as of now. Now, Masdar in UAE is supposed to be, I mean, it's becoming one of the smart cities. Songdo in South Korea, there's just 2 or 3, they are being developed, and maybe it will take a few more years at huge cost. In India, the first smart city is supposed to be Govt. Some of you from Gujarat might be knowing it's near Ahmedabad. It is almost nearing completion. So that is one aspect of a smart city. The other one is what may be called retrofitting. See, all said and done, we need to deal with existing cities. We cannot build new cities. I mean, it is going to be terribly costly, and 99.9% we will have to deal with the people living in the existing cities. So retrofitting means you take one compact area and try to convert it and make it into a smart city. One example is that, for instance, Hyderabad near Hyderabad is supposed to be one that is getting developed. These are all in the process. And electronic city in Bangalore, I think those from Bangalore will know. So here what they are trying to do, number one, use technology and technology solutions to make them smart. Smart water management. So retrofitting is another. The third one is what may be called redevelopment. That is, you take one old dilapidated area in a particular city, demolish the whole thing and try to redevelop it. One example that is happening is, in Mumbai, some of you might have known there is a place called Bendi Bazaar. In Bendi Bazaar is an old dilapidated building. There's a lot of people living there. So, but it is a remarkable example, that the Bora community there, they have set up what is called one upliftment trust for that particular community. They are raising some 250 structures are there. That is all getting demolished. And they are trying to rebuild that city and provide housing as well as employment. All those who are working there will again find employment. So this is happening. That is one. And last part of smart city is what may be called span city solutions across the city. So it may be improving transport across the city. For instance, in Ahmedabad, they have got this BRTS, bus rapid transit system. That is being copied in other places also. Hubli Dharwad, for instance, has started building Indore as one. I think Pune also is planning. So these are the various ways in which a city can be made smart. Now, how is it going to be implemented? Ultimately, in India, that is the thing. In my own experience, you know, we make policies, we provide money, funds, everything. But ultimately, when it comes to implementation, enforcement, I think this is where things go wrong. And so here, for the first time, government has come up with a new concept called special purpose vehicle to manage an entire city. See, we know of a lot of special purpose vehicles to manage a certain particular sector or a particular activity. But to manage the entire city, because in a city we have an elected corporation, we have other parastatal agencies. So now they have said this will be like a corporate structure, create a board of directors with a chairman, a CEO, and representatives from various other civic agencies. Now, how far is this is going to work in our cities and our setup is something that remains to be seen. Because questions are already being raised by elected representatives, saying this, what is going to happen to our powers if this SPV is going to not only the plan, raise resources, and implement. That is the special purpose vehicle. Now, most important, as I said, one of the key enablers of smart cities is using ICT. So there can be, now we use sensors in, for instance, whether it's in predicting traffic congestion, detecting leaks in water pipes. Sensors can do so many things. I think speaking about technology here, I think is like carrying coal to Newcastle. You are more familiar with that. I'll not expand on that. Similarly, among mobility, we know the traffic congestion now. The taxis like Uber and Ola brought in a kind of a revolution, and many people prefer to travel by them than by your own cars. So you sharing. Open data in governance, I think that's an extremely important thing that is now happening. We speak about transparency government. We always say that there is no transparency, no accountability, nothing. Why? Because there is the lack of access to information in government. Now this open data has thrown up a huge possibility of accessing information, whatever type of information in government. Now, what are the challenges that we face in India to create smart cities? As I said, this thing started in the West, but once we are trying to adopt, we need to tweak it to the Indian situation. And as in my experience, I would say there are three major challenges that we face. Number one is planning. Because urban planning or city planning that we are following is totally outmoded. So it started during the British times. We are continuing the same system, although the Britain has changed its own ideas about how to plan cities. The same laws, the same old municipal corporation acts with very few amendments. We have what is called a master plan. So how are we going to adopt all that to the new type of planning that is required for a smart city? So planning is going to be a major challenge. And finding the resources. I think all said and done, building new cities or even transforming cities is going to cost a hell of a lot of money. We need to mobilize resources. So what government has provided, about 100 crores a city, is a pittance. You can't really, if you take even a transportation system, you need hundreds of crores. But then government has also said that we look forward to the private sector investment. They want private sector, public-private partnerships. And the local bodies also to raise its own resources. As you know, today, local bodies are extremely poor in resources. They don't raise the resources. So that is going to be another. And finally, my point is about governance. How are we going to manage, how are we going to govern our cities? And I usually ask this question. Who governs our cities? So that is, there is no single authority, no single leader governing the city. That is the biggest problem in my view. See, when we speak about the state, you have a leader, like there is a chief minister who is the leader of the state. There is a cabinet managing many portfolios. At the national level, you have prime minister, there are ministers. But when it comes to the city, who governs? I mean, this is the question. The multiple authorities, and therefore it is disjointed, and therefore you find chaos. Our cities need leaders. If you ask who is the leader of the city, see, the mayor is supposed to be the leader of the city, let's say, because he is an elected representative. But he, most of the time in cities like Bangalore, Delhi, he has a term of 1 year. So we call the mayor a 1 year wonder. He's just by the time he settles down, 3 months are gone. By this time he participates in a lot of ceremonies, another few months, and then the time for the next election. He has no powers, no authority. If you look at the cities around the world, whether it is London, New York, or even South American cities like Curitiba and all that, you find the mayor plays a very major role. For instance, if you recall 9/11 in America, when it was hit by the New York was in chaos. And who took control of the situation? It was the mayor of New York, Mr. Giuliani. So he became the face of New York. And he came on the TV every day trying to generate hope amongst the people, trying to restore the city. In Seoul, a mayor transformed the city and went on to become the president. And I am quoting this one from mayor of Enrique Peñalosa, who was the mayor of Bogota. Bogota is a city in Colombia in South America. In Bogota, this mayor transformed it by just focusing on one important aspect, that is on public transport. Today we are talking about all the traffic crisis and transportation problems. But so he made a very, very interesting statement. He said, an advanced city is not one where the poor use cars, but rather one where the rich use public transport. So this again holds a big lesson for us in India, that the real problem so far as traffic and transportation is concerned is not adding to cars, but reducing the number of cars and using more public transport. So this came from a leader. He was convinced about it. He had a commitment and he achieved it because he had a long term, he had the authority. So that leadership is something that we lack today. Yeah, this is the last slide. I think many of you said it when I asked who governs our cities. Citizens are not yet governing. Citizens must. And I think smart cities won't work without smart citizens. And I am sure a place like this, you're all youngsters, when you see, anybody can become a leader amongst the citizens. But in the first place, what we need is a kind of a commitment to the city, a pride about the city. My first slide about private cleanliness and public squalor, that should become not only private cleanliness, but public cleanliness also. That is possible only if the citizens are able to join together, to unite. I think a big debate is going on about democracy at the national level. What we really need is democracy at the city level. We need democracy, we need city democracy, we need neighborhood democracy. If our neighborhood is clean, if our neighborhood is prosperous, the city becomes prosperous, the nation becomes prosperous. And I am sure the hope that I have is that youngsters like you, that I began asking the question, are smart cities the answer to the urban crisis in India? Let me end by saying the smart cities are the aspiration, at least, of a youthful India. And we do look forward to people like you, the youngsters, to create smart cities in the future. Thank you.